Everyone, back at our YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a quick match reaction. Newcastle United have just been humbled, easily battered by Celtic 4-0 at Parkhead. It was an easy game for Celtic, really. They look quicker, they look stronger, they look fitter, more fluid in their passing. And Newcastle look like a pub team where everyone just got in at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know it's only the first game of pre-season, but there is some real concerns, I think, at the depth of the quality in the squad. There's been a few people already talking about it on social media. You know, Eddie Howe, has he really been backed this window so far? Not really. Hasn't been back the last 3 windows. There's a massive drop off in quality of players outside of the top 13 players in this squad. You could see that today when the two teams changed. I mean, outside of Bruno Guimaraes, Harvey Barnes a little bit in the first half, bit of Willis Sula and young Alex Murphy coming out left back who looked alright. The rest of them looked so far off the pace that they really did. You know, Jamal Lascelles, there's this real affinity of Jamal Lascelles because of who he's been in the past for the football club, but the very same people who said that Sean Longstaff wasn't good enough to be in this squad anymore need to say the same thing about Jamal Lascelles. He can't tackle, he can't pass, he can't move. I know it's the first game of pre-season, so I'm not losing my marbles too much yet. There's about 4 or 5 games left to play, but some of the warning signs there for Newcastle weren't great. We know this squad needs quality, we know it needs additions in key areas, you know, in centre half, up front certainly. You know, young Sean Neve comes on in the second half and he looked lively, tried to get on the ball, but again he's way off the pace of even a kind of semi-fit Celtic team, really. You know, couldn't get by the defenders, his touch was letting them down. You know, Sula huffed and puffed, but again in the moment he snatches at chances a little bit. Yes, again, I'll caveat that it's only the first game of pre-season, so there is still plenty of football left to play, but a little bit concerning for Newcastle. They put in perspective, I think Aston Villa got battered today by a second division German side, so these kind of things happen in pre-season. But yeah, I'm really glad I travelled all the way up to Glasgow for this game because it was really enjoyable to watch. I mean, to be fair, I must give the fans a massive shout out. As always, the travelling Newcastle fans are unbelievable. They were screaming and chanting and singing Geordies at the top of their voice. 4-0 down, you know, the end of the game. Eddie Howe came over to see the crowd. It was the first one over. Did not look impressed at all. I know this is a pre-season friendly, but Eddie Howe's got really high standards, and that's way below the standards that Eddie Howe puts on his players, on his squad. I think he'll be really pissed off with that. The big fallout from the game was the non-inclusion of Alexander Isak. It's already started doing the rounds on social media. Eddie Howe came out and said that he decided to withdraw Isak from the game, you know, following the speculation about his future and stuff like that. He didn't want to put him in the spotlight, didn't want him sitting in the stands if he wasn't going to play in the game. And he did come on and say that Alexander Isak's happy at the club and he loves the club and the players and fans and everything else. And I don't think Eddie Howe would go out into the public and say that about Alexander Isak if it wasn't true. So I don't think there's any danger of Isak leaving. Of course, all the Liverpool and Arsenal fans would be wetting their pants thinking that there's a chance for Isak to leave this summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're already fucking AIing him up in Arsenal shirts and everything else as well. But he was missing for that reason. Joe Linton was missing because he's managing his minutes. You know, again in the game, like I say, there wasn't much in it. Miley was busy. You know, a lot of the times he passed backwards instead of forwards, but there wasn't really much of a pass on from. The movement was static. You know, Barnes got in behind a couple of times. We probably should have been 2 or 3 up in the first half, but again, he tried to put balls across maybe a little bit too late, sort of a little bit too slow to it. Murphy a little bit too slow with the pace. And these will come, you know, Celtic are way ahead of us in terms of their fitness. Their season starts before us, so they've got more energy in their legs, more fluidity in their passing. It was so self-evident today. But I think the big story to take out of this, again, it's only pre-season, no need to melt down, but I think the realisation there of the lack of quality in the squad and how much it drops off outside of the top 13, 14 players is something that we all know about. We've been talking about it for 3 windows now. There is not enough quality underneath. You know, some of the young players that come on, Joe White, for example, he's been on loan, I think, was it Crewe or something? I don't think the kid's got it. I really don't. I've seen him 2 or 3 pre-seasons now. I don't think he's got it. That's the worst I've seen him play in a pre-season. His touch, his movement, his passing, everything was just really, really off. And you know, there comes a time when a player's like 22, 23, where you have to say, is he good enough to make the grade? Now, I don't think Joe White is. So, but again, we haven't got anybody to replace the Sean Longstaff position. You know, we lost Almiron and Kelly. Now we've lost Longstaff, so we're already 3 bodies down on top of the 4 or 5 bodies that we need. Elanga made his debut today. So nice little flicks and tricks and a bit of pace, but again, we were already 2 or 3 now down by the time he come on, really, so there wasn't much he could do. Gordon come on with a ridiculous headband, but like Andre Agassi from the fucking 90s. I hope the fuck he gets that off before the Premier League starts, because he looks like an absolute tit wearing it. He really does. I know I'm follically challenged, but fucking hell, Gordon, get that headband off. You're not playing Wimbledon, son. Fuck me. I know you went to Wimbledon, but you made Jack Whitehall at once you signed for Liverpool, but fucking hell, take your hairband off. You look like a wank. And Nick Pope, I've got to talk about that. I know it's only pre-season, but Nick Pope, fuck me, that was one of the worst bloopers I've ever seen as a goalkeeper. It's not the first time he's done it. If Newcastle United were ever in a position where they were wondering whether they should pay a couple of more £1 million for James Trafford, Nick Pope has just give you the fucking exact reason why you should. That was absolutely shocking. If you did that for a pub team, you'd be barred from going back in a boozer for 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He was completely lost in translation. Looked like a giraffe trying to eat an apple from a tree. It was dreadful. Easy goal for Celtic that. A lot of the goals were easy. The header was easy for the third. The fourth was easy. You know, the fluidity of passing, cutting us apart. Everything about the game was easy for Celtic, and everything about the game was made difficult by Newcastle. Will look leggy, will look rusty, will look slow. You know, Bruno aside. So hopefully, you know, the fitness will come as the games come. Obviously going to South Korea to play against Arsenal and Spurs. You know, hopefully we'll see some better performances, some more sharp performances. Isaac will be back, I'm sure, in those games once things have died down. But yeah, a bad day for Newcastle United, and Celtic, well deserved, battered us 4-0. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep it ever more. Like and subscribe. We'll be back soon. See you later.
Eddie Howe's heroes celebrate. They have done it.